Well, g'day folks. Welcome to this week's episode of Learn to Paint TV. Rod Moore from Learn to Paint with you here again. Now, this week we're really going to do something different. Every other episode so far of Learn to Paint TV, I think we've done 65 or so, have all been in acrylics. And lately I've been experimenting with water-soluble oil paints. And I found them really good, and I thought if you're an acrylic painter, it's something that you might like to explore as well. Now, I love oil paints, but the traditional oil paints with the toxicity and the fumes and everything really put me off after a number of years of working with oils. So that's why I switched to acrylic. But since I've started using the water-soluble oils, I found that you can use them almost like the acrylic, but they have the added benefit of not drying out too quickly. So you can have more time to work and blend, and a really good option for those who use acrylics but are frustrated by the quick drying time, and also the fact that acrylics dry that little bit darker as well. We're going to use the same colors, but as I put this up on the board, you'll notice, look how thick and creamy and buttery that is, just like you get from oils, right? So that's our ultramarine blue, same color scheme that we always use, same palette, and our alizarin crimson. And again, look at that, nice and thick, juicy paint. So where with traditional oils, we would thin that down with a solvent, like terps or any thinners that come as a medium with the brand. What we'll do here is we'll just use water in the same way that we were doing it with our acrylics, and that's really important. So the project that we're going to do today is this one here. It's a river scene of a photo I took in York, beautiful town of York, one of my favorite places in the world to go visit. I like this because it's got this nice big dark tree here, and the reflection, it's got this beautiful old bridge and old buildings. It's very atmospheric. We've got a bit of light hitting on this side here with the old boats, and then another tree with the reflection, and there's lots happening in that water there as well. And I looked at that and I thought, that's going to be a struggle to do that in acrylic, to get those nice soft little touches of color in the water and so on. So that's why I thought, let's have a go at the water-soluble acrylic. So as always, our first step is our drawing step. And again, I'm going to use the ultramarine blue and actually it's French ultramarine, I believe. Yeah, same thing, just a slightly different name. French ultramarine blue and the permanent alizarin crimson. I'm going to use a small brush, and I'm going to use a bucket of water. Okay, I'll just wet my brush. I'll pull out a little bit of that blue there. And this will look exactly the same as what we do with the acrylics. Okay, so step one is our drawing. We mix up a little dark with our thin brush and dilute it down with water. Now this will run a bit, but don't worry about that. You'll have yours on a flat table, so it's no problem. And then we're going to look for our horizon line. Now the horizon line in this is going to be fairly high up here. Okay, it's well above the halfway mark there. And the bridge sort of is there, there, and there. Okay, so I'm just going to get that bridge in. So that's, the halfway mark would be there, roughly. So this is sort of well above that. Okay, so that's what you want to keep in mind. Now, actually, I probably need to move that bridge over. I'm going to put the bridge there, there. That's going to get a little bit confusing, but let's go with that. So we'd ignore that one and that one. Okay, and so we'll just run that bridge through to there, just to give it a little bit more room on the left-hand side there. And from here, this tree comes up. This is our nice dark, and it's catching just a little bit of light up there. Okay, so you're probably aware that what we try and do in our project here is just focusing on big shapes. So I'm treating this tree here with the reflection as one shape. This background behind the bridge will be another shape. This side here will be a third shape, and then the water will be a fourth shape. Okay, pretty easy when we look at it like that. And so let's just finish off with this shape here. This is going to be our reflection in here, and that's going to sort of break up in the water there. Okay, a little bit of an embankment there. Good. Okay. So next thing to do is to get this other embankment in. This other embankment runs, so that one's sort of, that's fairly wide, that one there, but from there we can pretty much take a line for that embankment to there and run sort of there. So that's the grassy embankment, and then from there we've got a tree here which runs over the embankment, and then it runs down into a shadow there. A little bit more in this painting, but I think it'll be worthwhile us getting this one right with our drawing. Okay, so I'm using plenty of water to dilute that pigment, to thin it down. And there's a couple of trees in here. Okay, up the back there. And then we've got these buildings. So I just want to get these buildings in correctly. There's sort of that shape, a little bit there. And we've got another one there. I don't know if that's a building behind there or not. So we've got a couple of buildings there. And then behind this bridge, let's get this bridge in a little bit better. So this bridge, we've got a nice thick one there. I'm going to ignore that one. So this bridge comes through there and it goes up that way, like that. We've got two thick ones there, and then that goes up there and down there. Now, don't worry about these details too much at this stage. I mean, we want to block it in first, right? And again, I'm not going to try and paint accurate boats. I'm just going to indicate, as Joe Zabudic would say, indicate, don't state. I think that's pretty useful advice. Okay, so I'm just going to make a mark there where the boat's going to go. There's some things happening along here. I don't know what they are, just cars and things like that. Okay, well, as you can see, folks, we've got our step one in. We've just mapped in some big shapes. There's a little bit of detail work for us to do as we progress this painting, but overall we're going along pretty well. And I'm pretty sure you can see the way I've used these water-soluble oil paints is exactly the same way that I use the acrylic paints. You know, there's no difference. We mix it down with water, use the same colors. It goes on pretty much the same. So, you know, it's worth having a go. Where the difference will come in is when we get to step 3, and you'll see that. But for now, we're going to do step 2. And in step 2, we are going to block in our color, okay, and our values and get those right. And as always, we like to start off with our darkest darks. I think it's going to be this tree here and this one here, and then we'll work backwards from there. So let's use a big brush, as we normally do, okay? Now, I do have a separate set of brushes for these rather than use the acrylic brushes. So I've got a separate set of brushes, and that's worth considering as well. And get a bit of water on the brush, take our ultramarine blue and alizarin crimsons, mix up a dark. I want to push this dark just slightly to the green side, a dark green, okay? To really get a feel for how much water to use with these oils. But hey, you can always just do this one quite easily in acrylics, exactly the same method, right? So I'm putting this dark. Now, as I said, I've gone a little bit yellower with this dark, just to get that dark sort of green feel in there. And then that tree runs back up through there. And all I'm doing, I'm just holding the brush down the back here, and I'm just scrubbing that paint in. You know, my objective here is just to get that paint on the canvas at this stage. Okay. So that's there. There's an embankment there which is very subtle, but I'll pop that back in. And now I'll go a little bit bluer here. A little touch more water. Okay, and then we'll just pull the reflection of this down into the water here. Notice that I'm doing horizontal strokes here now. It has a great feel. Okay, I'm going to push this side over here just a little. I won't put the yellow ochre in, I'll just go blue and red. And just scrub that in. A little bit on the blue side, so I'll add some more red. Okay. Now I'm getting this paint very thin, and when we come back in to do our detail work, I'm pretty confident we'll need to strengthen this up, but that's okay. But we've still got two big areas. We've got our water and our sky. They're pretty much the same color, interestingly enough. So how about we just take a big scoop of that white there. Put that in there. So it didn't like having that much water into the white there. It just broke off, which is good to understand. Okay, so we've got our white there. I'm going to get, it's a little bit on the blue side. It's a bluey grey. So therefore I'm going to have our blue, our red and our yellow in there. But I want more blue. Okay, mix those together. And you can see there I've got, it's gone a bit green. Is green what I want? Yeah, it's probably too green. We'll get a bit bluer in there. So it's a grey day, but it's a bluey grey. There we go. So I'll just cut in around where I've indicated there might be some buildings there. Now that's a little bit too dark. I need that to be lighter. So I'll just take my palette knife and just scrape that off. It's got to be a really light value back there. So I'll just scrape some of that off. Easier to do that with these oils than what it would be with the acrylic to scrape off like that. Okay, there we go. That's probably lighter value there. Let's just paint that over. Because if we go too dark in our sky here, then these little buildings in the back aren't going to really show out the way we want them to. Okay. So I'm just, again, we're blocking in here. We're doing step 2, same way we normally would. Just getting colour and values down. And I could add a bit of warmth or a bit of detail to the sky in step 3, as you'll see. Now again, everything I've done so far, you could just as easily do this with the acrylics. I'm using exactly the same working process. I'm thinning the paint down, we're doing the 3 steps that we normally do, we're just using 3 colours, and quite frankly, it's exactly the same process. And that's why I thought I'd introduce you to the water-soluble oils here today, because they're a great alternative. So I think we made a good decision here to block in the sky and the water first, predominantly because, look, it's the same tone, right? It's the same basic tone. And what I'll do is I'll just darken it slightly as we get down into the scene a bit more. We'll go a bit bluer in the water. Now that's really thick there, so it just needs a touch of water. Just a drop, okay, and then that just thins it back. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'll probably do a little mini course on how to use the water-soluble oils, but basically there are thinning mediums that you can get, which are probably preferable to using water. Although I've been just using water and the results seem to be quite pleasant at this stage. Run that up to the reflection there, and notice I'm using horizontal strokes here for the blocking in. No, I'm not. I'm using vertical strokes. Got me too confused. And notice also I brought the water up behind the bridge, the old bridge. We have a bit of a boat there, looks like an old barge or something. Okay, I want to have that as a nice soft edge, so but that paint's gone a bit thin where I've blocked it in there, so we'll have to work on that in step 3 to get that as a thinner sort of, as a softer edge. Same on that side. Okay, so let's get a little bit of this yellow ochre, a little bit of this alizarin crimson, permanent alizarin. Okay, and let us start to just work that in here. The old building here. Front of it's going to be slightly lighter, so I'll just lighten that off. Now I'm not going to put windows and doors and things in here just yet, and even when we do, I'm going to put just a hint of them in. So the roof is a darker tone, so we'll just mix the blue and the red into that yellow. Actually, that red's probably not a bad tone. We'll just, there we go. That's a slaty, reddy kind of colour. Okay. On a grey day in York, who would have thought that, hey? Certainly one of my favourite places in the UK. I visited there a couple of times. The city of York and the Yorkshire coastline there, and we've done a few paintings from, you know, Whitby and so on. And probably needs a little bit of tightening up in there, but that's okay. We'll get to that. Now we do have some green, so we'll just block in a dark for that, blue and the red. Okay. Up in here, just some bushes and things, and what they do, they anchor the buildings into the earth there, rather than having them floating in the painting. Cooler grey. And you know, there's still sandstone buildings or whatever the old brick type is, right? But it's got to be lighter and cooler than these ones here. So I've got blue and white in there. Just get a little bit more of the yellow and red. Okay. And if I pop a little touch that on there, you can see it's a different tone, and it should work fine in the back here. Looking at that, I think that's all good. So I'm not going to really put any detail in there really. It's just going to be a couple of blocky shapes that are going to look like the rest of the town out the back there. There's a tall building there, which we put that reflection in for. Okay folks, well that brings us to the end of step 2, and as you can see our working process is pretty much the same as what we've always done in Learn to Paint TV. We're just using the water soluble oils. We're using them in pretty much the same way. Now normally at this point we have a break, you know, we let it sit for an hour or so and the acrylics dry hard. What's going to happen is I'm going to take a break for an hour or so and the water will dry out of the oils, but where there's sufficient pigmentation, like I've used the pigment fairly thick, that's going to still be a bit wet and a bit tacky, so that'll enable us to work back into it nicely when we come back in and do step 3. And I think to make this painting work, we're going to need a little bit of detail in the water and a fair bit of detail up in the buildings and the bridge, just to sort of bring it to life. Otherwise it could end up being a fairly boring painting. So we'll work on that, but for now we're going to take a break, leave it for at least an hour, and when you come back it'll be just a little bit tacky, and it's a beautiful paint to work into when it's tacky. So I'll see you in step 3. Okay folks, welcome back. Rod here again. Now going to do step 3. We're going to look at our details, highlights, finishing touches, and really pulling this painting together. Now I've left this for a couple of hours maybe, and if this was the acrylics like we normally do, that'd be bone dry. Now it's not. The water's evaporated out of it, and it's still wet as you would expect an oil paint to be. So the big difference here, and really the only difference, is that we have to work over a wet layer. Like if I was to touch that, I'd get paint on my finger, right? So it is wet. We're working alla prima. And the key to doing that right is in steps 1 and 2, keep that paint very thin. And then as we come into step 3, start to use thicker paint, less water or medium in it, and you'll be fine, okay? And what we'll do, we'll start off, we'll just get a little bit of work happening in these trees, I think will be a starting point. So I'll just start off with a medium sized brush. And as I said, that went a bit black. Now that's fairly dry. I mean, you can see a little bit of paint come off of my finger. So that's the difference. You won't get that with the acrylic. The acrylic will be bone dry, okay? So what I want to do though is just get more of a darker green happening in there. So I'll take our blue there, pop that there, we'll get that yellow ochre. Now it's a bit too light, so I'll take a bit more of that and a touch of red. Okay. That's probably a bit more like it. It's more green than the shadow tone that we put up there. So what I'll do, I'm just going to block in there, and it'll give me a chance just to sort of feather out those edges a bit as well, like there. And keep in mind that sky is wet. So I have to be careful that I don't lighten off my paint too much. Okay. I won't overpaint all of that black. I'll keep some of it in there. Some of it will work to our advantage. Okay. Like so. And then we'll come in with our cadmium yellow light, and we'll just lighten that up. And we'll just go, you know what, there's a bit of sunlight. It's clipping up here. Like so. And I'll just come back a tone into here, and we'll just get a little bit of work happening in around there. So I don't want to overly detail this. We'll just get that little bit of light happening up in the top there. The one thing is it's probably a little bit, I don't know, maybe we'll just push it out there. It's just a little bit, I didn't like the shape of it there. But happy with that. Now I've got these trees in here. They're going to be lighter in value and a bit cooler. So I'll add a bit more blue in there, and we'll add just a touch of white. And let's just shape up a couple of these. Okay, now these are all backgrounds, so don't get too caught up trying to paint perfect trees there. So I'm just mixing up slightly darker tone. Again, a little touch of water, and let's just get this in. Well, that's probably a little bit light. I'll get a bit more blue and a bit more red. Okay. That's better. And I'll just look some of that reflection in. And again, I've got that original tone there. It's no point me completely eliminating that. I'll let some of that come through. But along the edges here, I'll just blur that up a bit. And we've got that bit that's sort of sticking out. What I think I want to do is just get a few little details into some of these buildings. Not overly detailing them, but just enough information. Again, same as with those trees. Let's get that bit of that dark happening in there. We'll take some light value from somewhere just to tone it back a bit. Okay. And I'll just put some shadows in. Some indications for windows. There's probably an old sort of industrial kind of building there. Like so. And there. So it's not going to need a lot of details this for it to start to tell more of a story, for us to be able to work out what it is that we're looking at there. Not going to need much information at all. I'll go a little bit lighter, so I'll take some of this skyy blue here and pop that into that tone. So just getting a little touch lighter there. And I'll just, really, now we're talking about tiny little details here. Kind of a browny tone, so we'll start with red and yellow, right? So orange is as close to brown as we can get with just two colours. Okay. So is that the right tone for it? I think that's too saturated, because I'm only using two primary colours. It's quite saturated. If I add the third primary colour in, it will reduce the saturation. Okay, and what that means is it'll grey it, and grey colours are good because grey colours go backwards in distance, whereas saturated colours come forward, right? So a little bit of white into there to lighten the value, and I think that's probably a pretty acceptable tone for what we want. We need to get in the top of this bridge here. We just run that down there. We can pop a dark into it soon, but I think that's going to work, and that's a similar tone to what's on this embankment wall here. So I'll just pop a little bit of colour there, and perhaps just a little hint of a reflection of that. Okay, good. And then we're going to mix up a dark soon, but for the moment we'll continue with this. So that runs into there and there. Okay, now if I darken that up with a bit more blue and a bit more red, notice that I'm not using anywhere near as much water now as what we were before. That's because we're now painting thick, and this is the key with painting alla prima with oils, is to paint thicker paint over thin paint. So our thin paint was when we had the water, and now we're painting with thicker paint. Okay, now the one thing I think is I need to darken this water, but before I do that, I'll just get a hint of this boat. Now the boat is not actually red, but I'm going to pop a bit of a red mark there. And then I'm going to add a bit of a highlight to it there. Why am I doing it red? Just to, I think we just need to get a bit of variety in the tone in there. And red seemed to do the trick. So it's just sort of a barge, I think. This one I'll do in blue in the front there. But again, I'm just popping a little indication. I'm really not going to try and paint a boat there at all. So we'll come back, we'll get, and more texture as well. So we'll get some blue and some white into there. Get some more white. So look at that, there's a huge amount of paint there. Get a bit of the red and the yellow. Okay, and then I'm just going to really start to thicken up this paint in here. Soften out any edges where I can. And the way what I'm doing here is I'm trying to just get some thicker paint on that I can then exploit. A couple of little shifts in tone and things in there as well. It's really reflecting these buildings here. because I'm putting this onto wet paint, and white paint's probably the worst paint to do it with. It's going to make my paints a little bit muddy, so I need to just keep pulling paint out of the brush. Okay. And then I'll just use this sort of like little zigzagging motion here, and just break up that reflection a little bit. So I've got a bit grey in the sky and a bit bluer in the water, just for a bit of variety's sake. And I'm going to leave it there, I think. Well, there you go, folks. The river at York, city of York in Yorkshire, the UK. There's our original photo, and you know, quite a nice little composition with those dark trees reflecting into the water. And there's our little effort. First time we've used water-soluble oil paints on Learn to Paint TV. This is episode 66, I think, thereabouts. And we've always done it in acrylics. So as you've hopefully seen, that you can use these water-soluble oils in almost the same way. The only difference is when you come back for step 3, that you are working over wet paint. Okay, now if you do your step 1 and 2 thin enough, okay, then that's not a problem at all. As you've seen, I've been able to work over it just fine. You could leave it to the next day and come back and have a go at the next day, and that would work just as well. And we've done a fairly simplistic version of the photo. There's a lot more detail, obviously, but in order to keep it at a beginner to intermediate level, we'll leave it there. Feel free to detail it up even more than that if you want. But look, it was a grey, gloomy day, and so, you know, I've started out with a grey sky, and the temptation was to get brighter and brighter colours in the water, but that's sort of like losing that greyness of the day, which kind of helped make the picture as well. So I've brought it up a bit. Don't want to bring it up too much more. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I've certainly enjoyed it, and I think we will do more water-soluble oils in the future, and hopefully you enjoy it. But hey, if you prefer, do it in acrylics, not a problem at all. The method's the same, pretty much. So catch you next week on Learn to Paint TV. Make sure you drop by our website for all the past episodes, and I'll put the address underneath me. And drop by learntopaint.academy, register for the free course where I go into the More method of painting, the 3 steps we've shown you today, in a lot more detail, and give you a free course on how to really get started painting, and a couple of demonstration paintings and so on in a lot more depth. So go and check that out, and I'll see you next week on Learn to Paint TV. Cheers.